It really is a shame that the only thing people care about supporting these days are lies and misinformation. The truth is never interesting enough, so it doesn't count anymore. There's been non-stop fake leaks and fake rumors and nonsense about some kind of new Nintendo Switch for years now. Every time there's a Nintendo Direct, I got the insiders, there's a rumor, there's a leak, all fakes, never goes through, but then people keep on trusting, or at least retweeting and sharing, the same fraud sources over and over again, and the real information as to what is going on gets buried or doesn't get a lot of traction. So let's get into what's really happening with a new Nintendo Switch model or Nintendo's next generation console. If you enjoy the video or if you care about the truth, please leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts down below, and share it with all your friends. So we have AP News Insider Q&A with the head of Nintendo USA, Doug Bowser. Now, it's just kind of standard interview stuff, but there's actually a comment as to what's going on with the future for the Nintendo Switch. Question: when is the next Switch coming out? What kinds of features or new capabilities would you like to see? Now, obviously, he can't say something like, oh, because you asked so nicely, I'll just leak everything to you. But we do get insight as to what's going on, and that's backed up by other interviews and other information. So let's see what's happening here. As we enter the 7th year for the Nintendo Switch, sales are still strong. I think we have a very, very strong lineup coming. As Nintendo's president has said recently, we're entering uncharted territory with the platform, and that's because for a Nintendo console, or really any generation of gaming consoles, they don't go on this long, but Nintendo has been committed to dragging out the Nintendo Switch as long as possible, and why not if the support is still great and the performance is incredible? Nintendo Switch is still crushing it. It's exciting to see that the demand is still there, so nothing to announce on any future console or device, but we are still feeling very bullish about the Nintendo Switch. That's just smoke and mirrors, it's a lie, it's nonsense. We're going to be getting our new Nintendo console later this month or year anyways. Now, there is a lot of corporate speak here that doesn't really address or answer the question, but again, it's supported by things we've seen in the past for Nintendo, we're going to touch on that. I should be careful about what I personally would like to see in a new Switch, but what I can share is that one of the reasons that even going into year 7, we feel confident that the Switch can have strong performance over the next few years is that it's still truly a unique device you can play in a variety of ways at home or on the go. So they want to keep on supporting Nintendo Switch because it's doing really good, and they even say over the next few years, it's still going to be about the Nintendo Switch. One of the things we look at always is how we can surprise and delight. How can we introduce new, unique ways of playing? That is always in the front of our mind. I mean, we see this with like the Ring Fit adventure and also older Nintendo things where like a lot of extra devices came into play, like the Wii Fit and stuff. So it just seems like it's going to be adding on modern and future technology to the Nintendo Switch instead of directly upgrading it or going into a new console. Like the Nintendo Switch Pro is about as much as we can expect, but it doesn't seem like a Switch 2 is going to be a thing, and then backwards compatibility and like new console shenanigans, like that's not where Nintendo is going, and Nintendo has said that for longer than all of this nonsense has been going on. And that's another problem. Like if anyone just says, oh, new Nintendo Switch leak, you can tell it's a fake post because no one is clear as to what a new Nintendo Switch means anymore. Because for a while it was like, oh, Switch Pro. But now, again, we're going into so many years of the Nintendo Switch that it's like, oh, now it has to be Switch 2. But that's still a new generation of consoles, which isn't really happening. Now, some people might be saying, wait, 7 years, that's just wrong. The Nintendo Switch just had its 6th anniversary, 2017 into 2023. But they are saying we are going into year 7. So we have 2017 being the first year, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, that's 7. So, you know, a lot of weirdness as to how long the Nintendo Switch has been around, but also the interviews talking about the Nintendo Switch being around for a while and planning on being around for a while. Nintendo expects the Switch to have a longer life cycle than previous consoles. So we had like a little Q&A session, and then also even like it's crazy how much this has been reiterated, but people are still trying to like clickbait just all this fake information, and again, idiots in these gaming communities just kind of keep falling for it and keep supporting it because the truth isn't interesting enough to them. So we also have February 3rd, 2022. So if you notice it's around February, this is when we get Nintendo earnings releases. That also goes into Doug Bowser talking about how, like, oh yeah, you know, the CEO of Nintendo just talked about this recently because we had the earnings report and all of these, like, conferences and stuff for investors. So in 2022, the Nintendo Switch is in the middle of its life cycle. It's going to be around for 10 years? The Nintendo Switch was originally released in 2017, and the console has been going strong ever since. This puts the Switch at about 5 years old in 2022, and the company is now saying that the Switch is only in the middle of its lifespan. Now, middle doesn't mean like exact middle, especially because of like earnings calls and having like couple months delay and business year cycles and all that stuff. So I mean, like, middle could still mean like, oh, out of 9 years we're like on the 6th year, and that's still technically the middle kind of thing. But all the interviews and math just kind of keep on showing that, yeah, the Nintendo Switch is still going to be around for a long time. So indicating that it could be another 5 years before Nintendo released a new console. Even then, like I said, depending on how you play around with the numbers, could just be 4 years. That's still 2016. However, that also can make sense. So we have Nintendo Direct around the same time, where we get to see the courses, the booster course pass for Mario Kart Deluxe. That this is the #1 selling big carry game for the Nintendo Switch, and instead of doing Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart 8.2 or something, they're just like, no, we're just going to be doing expansion pass stuff until 2023. And that's going to, you know, by the end of 2023. So where are we now? We're at Booster Course Pass Wave 4 as of 3 weeks ago, going into March. So, like, yeah, December is when we're going to be getting the last one of 2023. So even the stuff about, like, expecting a new Nintendo Switch this year isn't correct, because we're still going to be going into the Booster Pass for Mario Kart as we're barely into the, like, middle of the Nintendo Switch lifespan. And even other announcements like the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC doesn't conflict with any of this and kind of supports it depending on how deep you want to go. Let's say the next gen, like, I think if we start getting into next generation of consoles in 2026, are we even talking about the Nintendo Switch anymore? We could just be going to like some kind of crazy VR machine, almost like who even knows? Like, who even knows what Nintendo is planning for the future? Especially if, again, Nintendo Switch is so strong, they can just kind of keep this hybrid handheld console going for another 3 years, where it's like, oh yeah, we have June 2026 is when the new console happens. That doesn't conflict with anything. DLC is going into the end of the year, and then we have like 2024 Pokemon game, let's just say Black and White remakes. I don't think that's happening. I think it's stupid. Black and White Generation 5, the worst generations, but also Pokemon Legends, the worst games. So I mean, there's like also enough filler where it's like, do something for 2024. Generation 10 can come out in 2025, and the Nintendo Switch still isn't done yet. And we've even seen that Pokemon doesn't really have any regard for the new console. That's not like, oh, we need Generation 10 to launch the next Nintendo console. Nintendo Switch is doing fine. Like, you don't need to promote the next generation of hardware, especially if the Nintendo Switch has been around for 9 years at that point. So it's not like, oh, you need Pokemon to sell it, and even then, like, other games are pulling for Nintendo outside of Pokemon. So yeah, like, Generation 5 being 2025, or Generation 10 being 2025 doesn't hurt anything. Even saw with Pokemon Let's Go, it wasn't Generation 8 that launched on Nintendo Switch, it was Generation 7.5, and that was a year and a half after the Nintendo Switch came out. So it took 2.5 years to actually get a new generation Pokemon game on the console. So that means, like, yeah, we're completely safe. We can actually do Generation 10 Pokemon on the Switch. It lines up with everything. And I think there's also another thing where they're talking about how a lot of things we've got planned. We're entering uncharted territory with the platform. And then they also just kind of have a very, very strong lineup. And I think they mean that for the future beyond what we have, where it's like, doesn't even seem like Nintendo Switch Pro is happening for Breath of the Wild 2. So whatever the future, we're talking about like whatever is cooking for 2024 Nintendo is still going to be like very powerful, but even a Nintendo Switch Pro coming out in 2024, if it's like late, like early, let's say early 2024 for Nintendo Switch Pro, but then late 2026, maybe even like March 2027, like 10 years after Nintendo Switch, we get next generation. That's still a lot of time on the Nintendo Switch Pro or whatever like in-stage life cycle, and still a couple of years. And that's still a year away. So there's all kinds of just like time that we are chilling for the Nintendo Switch. And yet it doesn't mean we have to like rush into all this fake nonsense and all these fake rumors. And it still tracks with what Nintendo has been saying for years now. And it also lines up and is fine with like everything else that's going on with other games and even Nintendo. It is really crazy when you think about it, because it was actually a gamble back in 2020 to say, yeah, we're not even close to even considering upgrading the Nintendo Switch or going into the next generation of consoles, and then sticking to that and having it pay off because the Nintendo Switch has been doing so well. The titles have been absolutely record-smashing and insane. And it was looking that way too. Like when Breath of the Wild launched so hard and the rest of the games were doing so well, it's like, yeah, Nintendo's already had like one of their best, if not the best console they've ever had, and just keeps on pushing further and further into that. Why mess it up? Why mix it up? You just keep adding on accessories to Nintendo Switch. The games are fine because Nintendo has always been gameplay over graphics, and that proves to work. Even then, Ring Fit Adventure's still up there, like, so kind of catching that Wii Sports vibe and all that other stuff. So you look at this, listen to what Nintendo has to say, and it all makes sense. But that's not good enough for all the idiots on social media. Like I said, all this fake nonsense and clickbait that has to keep propagating. Then no one gets punished for lying and not covering the real information, doing due diligence. It is weird, but yeah, there we go. Nintendo Switch, easy 2026. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.